Hi, Growth Track team. We have made it nearly all the way through our behind the scenes launch of Growth Track, and it has been an exciting and incredible time. Thank you so much again for stepping into this with us. We could not do it without you. And as I've told you before, and I hope you realize, is that you really breathe life into Growth Track, into its vision, and into what we're trying to do with it, which is help people grow closer to Christ. That's ultimately our purpose and goal. As we've talked about also, Growth Track is really to help people understand the spiritual journey, where they're at on the journey, and to be able to take their next step, particularly as it relates to discovering their purpose. And then for them to be able to do the same so that they can speak about the spiritual journey, help people take their next step, which typically is coming to Growth Track, and then watching those people take their next step. So that is sort of the reminder for us as we step into all of the details about what the heart of Growth Track is really all about, and really pointing people towards that spiritual journey. I think one of the things that that we've talked about and that has really struck me and been an epiphany for me as I've gone through this is that we can't really live out our full purpose and make an eternal impact unless we really understand the know God and find freedom piece. It's the entire journey that allows us to live within our purpose and really make a difference. I don't know about you, but I see a lot of people in my life that start at discover their purpose. They do assessments and tests and they figure out what their strengths are and they go out to make a difference. And that works for a while, but a lot of times we come up a little bit empty-handed still and we think, well, what's the point? Why does all of this matter? And so that's why Know God and Find Freedom are such critical pieces of really doing the whole piece, because our relationship with Christ is what drives everything. So the more that you can carry that vision across Growth Track and this whole weekend experience, the better, so that your stories tie into that and help people to really see how the journey is real for each of us. I wanted to jump then right into week 4. I hope these videos have still been helpful as you prep and think about how this step is going to work. And before we completely dive in, you'll notice that on the setup, one of the things here is a master book of roles and responsibilities. Oh, that sounds kind of big, right? But you'll still have workbooks and pens. You'll have a week 4 next steps card. But this master roles and responsibilities book is really essentially a job description for every serving role that we have that would be the next step out of Growth Track. It doesn't cover every single serving role, but it covers the typical ones right now out of Growth Track. And you might find a few that are still missing too. We're definitely working to get that all the way done. So we're still at 75% on some of these things. But that master book just gives you a great overview of the different roles that the ministry leaders will be talking through. The expectation is not that you would talk through all of them, but that the ministry leaders have an opportunity now to start connecting and building a relationship with those people who will be on their serving teams. So your master book is to have just a copy of each of those, primarily so that when we get into Growth Track and there are people that are not sure about where they want to serve, that you can even sit down with them for a few minutes and say, well, tell me about your giftings. Tell me about the areas that you are interested in serving, and help guide them to just the place to start. I think the reminder for everyone is that this is not signing up for the lifetime commitment to serve in XYZ, whatever it is, but that we're asking you to start somewhere. And that if it's not the best fit, that they'll have every opportunity to talk with someone about that and continue to take next steps towards what is their purpose. So with that in mind, if you look at the rest of the program plan, just like I'm doing right now, there is a welcome, just like we've done before, and you'll notice that it just unpacks some of the Growth Track piece there again. You would introduce yourself and pray. And then the new piece that is part of this welcome is because people might be stepping into week 4 without having done week 1, 2, or 3, it's going to feel like a real jump in. And we may even be feeling like, gosh, shouldn't people start at step 1? Well, if you're a linear thinker like me, yes, that feels better. But we will have people stepping into Growth Track at each of these weeks. And so if it is this week where they step in and it feels like a bit of a jump in, you'll notice that we've got some language there to welcome them, help them feel comfortable with that, encourage them to finish Growth Track, just like I was saying, in order to really be able to make a difference and an eternal impact. Knowing the journey and walking through that journey is really, really key. And again, we want more for you than from you. We want you to understand the spiritual journey and have your relationship with Christ be first. So to come in at week 4 and to not do 1, 2, and 3, gosh, you're just missing out on it. And this has been the clarity that we've been looking for how adults grow, is to really provide the opportunity to talk through all of these pieces so that they don't just jump in to make a difference, but that ultimately the make a difference is connected with knowing God, finding freedom, discovering their purpose, and then making a difference. So that was a big explanation for what is a 2 to 3 sentence sort of help you feel comfortable there. But hopefully that helps you with some language pieces as well. Then we'll spend a few minutes getting back into giftings and strengths. And you'll see there that that's just a little bit of table discussion to get people's heads back in, gosh, what were my spiritual gifts and what were my strengths? And then Ben has his video there. The one sort of piece that will only last in September, or I'm anticipating it only lasting through September, is the campus pastor or Next Step staff having a few minutes to do a little bit of next steps around this. Because this is a launch group and a little bit different audience, I've included that here so you'll see the points there. And then we will transition to ministry leaders. This will be up to you. I don't know if you as the host will do that or if that would be the campus team member, but you can work it out between the two of you. And these, again, are breakout sessions. The idea is there would be a table for students, for children's, for arts, for first impressions, which we're considering the hospitality roles like brew crew, usher, greeter, that sort of thing. And then a next steps. That would be something like group leaders, the Growth Track team. And so those 5 areas are really the places where we would have breakouts happen. And there should be a ministry leader from each area there and ready to run that orientation. So someone from arts, someone from students, someone from kids, someone from first impressions, and then the next steps piece would be handled by that campus team member. And that's who you work with primarily. So you'll notice that the rest of the time of this week is really spent with ministry leaders doing an orientation. They'll review the roles and responsibilities, and they will take care of almost all the rest of this. For you as the host or the admin, the Growth Track team, the thing that you really want to make sure is that you collect that step 4 next steps card, or I'll call it the Growth Track next steps card, before everybody leaves the room. The idea is ministry leaders will do this orientation with those roles and responsibilities. You've got the master book of them, but they'll bring their own. And so they will walk through an orientation, and that will include a tour of the area. Now for September, again, most people are probably in a serving role and they may not do the tour this month, but our hope is that they model everything that step 4 looks like. And so before they leave the room, if you can make sure to grab those next steps cards, that will be really key. And then from there, we did it. We did all 4 weeks of Growth Track. Yay! I think it is cause for celebration. And for just an update for you, the October through December content will have gone through an update. And so that'll be kind of fun for us to see how the new content goes. The heart of the content is the same, but the workbook will have undergone some changes, and Ben has done another set of videos. And so I hope that you're going to step back into this with us and be able to host, or maybe your month isn't until November or December. But I just want to thank you again. I am so grateful for your commitment and jumping in with us at a point where we're at 75%. You might be thinking there's some spots that were more like 50, and other spots where maybe we're further ahead than we think. But it really is going to be such a team effort for us to be able to offer Growth Track every weekend and to really be able to inspire people with this spiritual journey. Even for you, if I can just step in for a second, we care more about your relationship with Christ than anything. And so I pray that this spiritual journey has been part of a bit of an awakening for you, maybe in putting some pieces together that were all there, but now are coming together perhaps in a new way, and that you would ultimately find freedom and purpose and be able to really step into the difference that maybe you have been making and now there's just some new language around it, or maybe it's been that you've been waiting for something, and maybe it's not that Growth Track unlocked all of that, but my prayer is that with you serving in this team and as you watch other people grow, that you yourself will grow too. That's been my experience, that when I am helping somebody else grow, I grow too, and that is part of the joy and the delight of stepping into these roles. So thank you so much again. Please don't hesitate to let us know if you have questions, if there's any way that we can help. And I look forward to hearing about week 4 of Growth Track.